purple, so
It- There should be a call-in phone number on that Zoom invite.
yeah. Okay, yeah, let me try that.
You want to try that, and you can leave you want to leave your computer on in case too, and that way you can see if we have anything that needs to be shared visually.
Probably have to, I'm probably gonna get feedback if I do it.
Oh, well, yeah, you can just here, I'll mute you on the computer. Well, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Guy from Texas on.
Yeah, we're working on him. He's gonna try to call in. His audio is a little bit weird. Is there anybody else from y'all's side that's joining virtually? You don't know? Okay. Okay. Who all, is it the city council members? Got it. Okay. All right. I don't see anybody yet, but
Oh, you got it up there.
okay.
Almost.
I'll get the materials approved last night.
Yes.
Good.
Oh, oh, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Oh. There we go.
But the meeting, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, it's coming through clear.
Perfect.
Okay, well, the phone thing's working. Video on it gets started.
All right. Well, so that this works for us. If it works for you, can y'all hear him okay?
Yeah, is I plug my laptop in the speakers or something somehow?
Turn that up a little bit.
Yeah, it's just coming through his speakers.
Mr. Mullins, once you say something, try it again.
Okay, can you hear me?
What's your speaker at?
How's it coming through? No?
That's a good question.
Trying to figure out where your speaker's at. Keep talking.
I think it's
Okay.
along that top one.
Well, I'm still here.
Oh,
Oh.
4 and 7
Uh,
years ago.
We'll get it
Westport
figured out.
7 years ago, yeah. Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you. We're just trying to figure out how to make it a little louder on our end.
Keep talking.
Oh,
Say the
okay.
pledge of allegiance for me, would you?
Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the
All right,
republic
there
for
we
which
got
it
you.
stands.
You're good. We won't make you do the whole thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Okay. Ready to go? All right. Okay. So I sent out an agenda. Chris has it pulled up here on the screen. So I think as far as this morning goes, we just need to discuss kind of there's a data collection portion of this where Mr. Mullen needs data both well from the city, but I know Chris can provide some of that, but there are some specific things that I think he's going to have to get from y'all. I think, have y'all figured out some of that out, Chris, or?
We've got a data list that Mr. Mullins provided, but I sent him our water master plan. I sent him the NACA conceptual engineering report, and NACA, I think something we're going to want to talk about today, and those costs and whether or not we can include those as impact fees, but there is a significant cost to NACA. And I know we've got a board meeting tomorrow and talk about some of that stuff. I also sent him the Benton Washington Regional Public Water Authority master plan that is relatively new. And I also sent him our sewer basin map that kind of shows all our sewer projects.
Yeah. So I guess part of what we need to understand from you, Justin, is kind of making sure that we can consider, or I guess which parts of these costs, both past, current, and future, that we can consider in the formulation of the impact fees through state statutes.
Right. Well, all of those sound like fees that do fall within statute. We could make a few of those and the NACA fee that you're talking about is the expansion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's new road, right?
Right.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know.
Sorry. So all those fees are those costs are growth items, just like you would if you had a water tower, a need to do a water tower because of growth or any other type of implement. So initially I think that those will be acceptable, but I'll take notes on those items and kind of do a double check.
Yeah, I think the collection and distribution system is pretty straightforward.
Right.
Of course, we got a water tank there. And of course, we've got NACA, and it's like a $55 million project. And those are costs that are going to be passed on to customers. We've also got Tawny Town and purchases water from 2 Ton, and I know they've got some major capital improvements, and they're just going to pass those along to you in rates. So I'm not sure if we can quantify any impact fees associated with water rates or not.
Yeah, I guess the question really is on your regional water and wastewater providers, do you have an ownership stake? And because there's really the difference between basically you're temporarily able to use these facilities as long as you have a contract. I mean, I know you changed water providers, you could change again. And then you can say, well, we don't really, we've been charging our customers for this capacity as if it's always going to be there. They pay one time upfront impact fee, and then they should always have access to that. But then if you change water providers, it goes away. And I think on the wastewater side, you guys have it's more like an ownership situation. But I don't know precisely what the arrangements are, but
Yeah, I'm not sure it's ownership, but it's definitely a contract obligation to, it's not a contract. I wouldn't say Tawny Town has an ownership in NACA, but they are paying for it. But I don't know. That's maybe more of a legal question.
We have ownership in one
Yeah, it's just like, if you had a lease on a building, say you had, your police building, you didn't actually own the building, but you were leasing the building. So you're paying lease payments, but you're not getting any ownership stakes. So if you decide, okay, we want to build our own building, we want to cancel this lease, well, then you don't have anything.
No,
Right?
I think that's incorrect, because just like Bentonville right now had the collapse of their line, and they're being required to pay for said line. So it's not a lease ownership, it's more of an ownership of the line, but we can't sublet off of that line. So there is control by NACA of who we allow to hook up to that line, but the actual line itself is owned by Tawnytown. So in other words, even if we discontinue our
could-
services to NACA, we'll still have a line in the ground that we own.
So I think maybe there's a distinction, right, between maybe like the amount that y'all expended on the line that connects to NACA, and maybe is that separate from the capacity improvements that you're going to have to pay?
Well, and that's the
for
issue that we're going to
part of-
bring up tomorrow, is currently we're not being sold capacity within the plant. We're sharing the cost of the plant based on the amount of usage, but not on the capacity of the plant. And that's what I'm going to be asking for tomorrow at their meeting, is to restructure this contract where it's based on capacity of Tawnytown's usage.
Yeah, essentially, so next time they do the plant expansion, if you don't need the capacity, you don't have to pay for the next plant expansion.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Which I think is fair ownership, mainly due to the comments that Mayor Orman of Bentonville stated that she wants her citizens to pay their fair share. So if the expansion of this facility that we see right now is being incurred because the overcapacity that Bentonville's using, and also nobody has explained to me where Elm Springs capacity fits into this mix, and also Cave Springs is fixing to hook up, whose capacity are they now using? Mine or Bentonville's? So the contract truly needs to be based on capacity of usage.
So when y'all did your original connection and kind of buy-in or whatever that is, it was not based on capacity? They didn't?
Well, that's pretty interesting, because I can't seem to have anybody send me the original contract. I've got several addendums to the
Mhm.
contract, but nobody seems to have the original anywhere. So yet again, I would ask for a redraft of their contract to base on capacity usage, which I'm going to ask for Tawnytown's capacity to be 14%.
Okay. All right, so maybe the NACA part is kind of to be determined, and y'all can get us that
We'll know more
information
tomorrow.
Yeah, you'll get us more information after that meeting. Okay. And then the 2-ton, the water, what is, I don't know, kind of, could you maybe explain to Mr. Mullen how that works?
Yeah, and I need some help from Mr. Clark probably, but we're under contract with 2-ton, which originally was promised to have no rate increases. Now we've got rate increases that are being incurred this next year. But it's no different than a vendor would be. We're purchasing water from 2-ton is what we're doing. The lines are our own. We had a bond issue for some $9 million that we're paying on currently, that we've got our line extended to 2-ton's line at the Illinois River Bridge. So we have ownership of that line that we're going to pay for the next 30 years on. And our contract with them is such, I guess, that they can raise our rates whenever they deem necessary. But right now we're going to have about a 10% raise, 5%, somewhere around there. A 5% raise coming this next year.
Right.
So I don't disagree with Mr. Mullen about the fact that we will have a different water contract with somebody in the future, but I would hesitate to guess that I doubt we'll see a decrease in anybody that we go with.
Right.
Yeah, well, that line that you have to connect to them, I mean, that seems like, who owns the line? So you built it.
We
you paid
own
for it.
we own the line that is connected to 2-ton's off.
You own the line.
I'll call it the trunk system, if
But
you
if you
will.
change providers, it's still on the line, but it's not going anywhere. Not doing you any good.
No,
So
sir, you're wrong because
it kind of locks you in,
no, sir.
in a way.
No, sir, it does not. It's a valve system, just like we
But-
currently have a valve system set up with Springdale's connection, which is considered to be, I guess, an emergency connection if we were to have a fallout from 2 tons line. But the water still flows all the way through it and are connected to businesses and houses within the city. So just because it still has a connection at Springdale, we're still utilizing this line. Same way with the 2-ton line that we put out. It spans all across the city of Tawnytown, starting at Bracken Arrow and goes all the way to Illinois River Bridge. If we were to disconnect, if you will, from 2-ton, we would still have that line to be able to use it. So in other words, if we annex all the way out to Illinois River Bridge and we get WWA to give us that service area, then we can still use that as a functioning line because it is a pass-through. It connects to our water tower. So we will still have usage of that line no matter who we're hooked up with. As a matter of fact, I'm currently talking with the city of Fayetteville because they're fixing to put a massive water line through the middle of our city. And I'm asking for them to allow us to have emergency connection with them as well. So we will have 3 emergency connections set up, if you will, in Tawnytown. So whether or not we're with 2-ton, whether or not we're with Springdale, we still own the line, we still maintain the line, and we will be paying on that line for the next 30 years.
Okay. All right. Makes sense.
The other aspect, and I want to look at this a little more, but you know, the way in the impact fee statute that is discussed is rather broad.
Yeah.
It, you know, it has definition for obviously municipality, but also municipal, I just lost it.
Service agency.
Yeah, service agency. And, you know, I'll want to take a look and see. I'm certain there's been no case law on it, but I'll see if there's been an AG's opinion. But and just looking over the impact fee statute, I'm not seeing that sort of limiting language that would throw up a red flag that you can't use those fees as those costs as a part of the equation. But again, I think that's something we need to nail down.
Okay. So I think, so it sounds like if nothing else, we've established that the lines that y'all have built, that you've passed
We do.
bond issues and things to fund, those should be part of it no matter what.
Right.
And then we'll figure out kind of like
we
the
have these
NACA
other- yeah, the
expansion
NACA and
part and all that.
Bentonville has impact fees, don't they?
Yes, I think they do.
So, and you know, so does Cave Springs, which when it'll attach, I wonder if they've tackled this question. I could talk to Camille about that, or I don't know if somebody, you have a contact in water and sewer there.
Probably Chris does.
Yeah.
The other thing
Well,
too,
let me just, can I get in here for a second?
yeah,
Let me just say that, you know, it's like we're basically on the distribution lines, the collection system. We're going to treat that like, okay, it's incremental expansion. So as you add, or basically incremental expansion. So as the town grows, as you get more customers, you're going to have to add, you're going to have to make improvements.
right.
So basically we're saying, okay, look, the value of those improvements, the replacement cost, you know, if you built it all today, what would it cost? What we're trying to get to for the distribution collection system. So you got, you know, so many elevated tanks and whatever, and they cost this much. And basically, you know, you're going to have to add more elevated tanks. You're going to have to do, you know, maybe add more pumping, whatever it takes, you know, more, put in more lines to serve your population. So we don't really need to know, okay, how much, because defining the capacity of a distribution system is, you know, it's not real easy to do. Now, and generally what people do is say, when you've got a treatment plant that you own and just serves you, or it serves, well, it doesn't have to just serve you, it can serve outside the city limits or whatever. That plant, I mean, those plants always have excess capacity. So you can't just use the incremental expansion. You can't just say, we got this value that we've invested, less the debt that's on it. So we got some kind of equity in the system. And but a new customer doesn't need all that excess capacity, right? And you're not going to be building more. So basically you just treat it as a one-to-one. So a customer comes in and, that's another equivalent dwelling unit of demand, whatever that might be, how many gallons a day that is. They just pay the cost per gallon per day, that they're consuming. So it's kind of a different methodology when you're looking at treatment plant. So, if you don't actually have ownership of the plants, so it's kind of hard to say, well, what capacity do you have? You don't actually have any kind of guaranteed capacity, I don't think.
Well, but maybe, yeah, let's revisit that after they speak tomorrow they're going to go to that NACA board meeting, because it sounds like that could be part of their contract going forward.
On the wastewater side, yeah.
On the wastewater side, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay.
So, and then I guess, Chris, you and Mr. Mullen have talked about the rest of his data list that he's going to submit to the city, the data request. Okay. Do you have anything that you think we need to discuss on that with the city?
We could pull it up real quick.
I guess Justin, while he's pulling that up, what from the Garver side, since we're going to be working on the capital plan piece of this, I mean, I think what we understand what we're doing in regard to these, upcoming projects that basically, Chris is going to list out, and we'll have some sort of planning cost associated with those. But I guess what I'm not 100% sure on is if the capital plan also needs to reflect any of this statutorily, I guess, to align with the statute. Does it need to reflect any of these pieces that we're talking about in regard to, financial investments that the city's made, like in that water tower, those expansions to, for both the connection NACA and stuff? Does that need to be in there, even though those have already happened, to kind of comply with the statute? Yeah, right. I think, right. And it would definitely be included in the impact fee study. I'm not sure if it needs to show up somewhere in the capital plan too. And you don't have to answer right now.
I'm gonna have to look at that. and
Okay.
see,
That was just a question that I had. I mean, I think it'll be easy to put it in there.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be difficult. I'll make a note to check on that.
Okay.
So Mr. Mullen, we've got this data need Word document that you sent us the other day. You want to briefly touch through or walk through that? We've got potable water, the number of current water customers by meter size. James, you have all that. meter capacity. We've got that.
Yeah, well, when I put this together, I was still trying to get a handle on this. Well, we've been talking about the regional, the treatment part of it. But yeah, like for the water distribution system, we need to define what's the system. Because when, you know, I mean, that's what you get into when you get into the distribution and collection system part of the fee is what do you need to give credit to developers for? I mean, you're requiring them at present to build lines or pay for, do a cost share or something.
Mr. Mullen,
And
if you
so
don't
we got
mind,
to we want to define the part of the system that developers don't typically deal with.
Mr. Mullen,
Oh,
I hate to interrupt you, but I don't think that we're trying to reinvent the wheel here. I mean, we are no different than the city of Springdale, which I know has impact fees. They are connected to Beaver Water,
Right.
and we're no different. We're connected to Two Ton. So I don't know that we have to try to totally reinvent the wheel here. If we take a look at what Springdale has done with their impact fees on water. Now, granted, they own their own sewer system, but they also have a contract, I think, set up with NACA as well to hook onto their system if they so choose to.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we're sitting here talking about a whole lot of things that we're trying to get everybody to write an ordinance and capital improvement plans. Can we not just take a look at another city that's already doing this? Because we're no different.
Well, we can
really.
certainly look at what they've done. I mean, what I'm talking about here is the credit part of it, because you do need to give developers credit for what they are required to do. You don't charge them an impact fee for the distribution system and then say, oh, by the way, you got to build your piece of it separately and pay the impact fee. For the bigger system, well, I mean, then you got to define what's the major system.
Right. And I think if we sit back and look at what other cities have done, then we could roll off of that R&D, rip off and duplicate. Am I wrong?
Yeah. I mean, the easy way to do it is just define a minimum line size that we're going to include in the impact fee calculations. In other words, you know, if developers are putting in 10-inch water lines all the time, you get a new subdivision, they put in 10-inch water lines.
Well, and that's the
You wanna
issue that
give
we
them
have
credit for
currently is we're
all those
requiring
internal
developers to put an 8-inch water line in when we really should be requiring 12-inch to help our system.
In some locations, yes.
Right.
Well, and it sounds like what Mr. Mullen, what you're saying is in that case, you would have, you know, if the city required, let's say the 12-inch to go in
Right.
with it, then there would be, because we're defining kind of these units of impact, then there could be a credit calculated that would bring down the amount of impact fee they paid because they're
Putting in a
constructing
larger
that.
size line,
Correct.
Right.
I think
which
that's
would
what
more
he's
help
talking
the
about.
city than the money monetarily.
Right.
And Chris, I think, has the calculations for where we need 12-inch, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, so do we have, are we at odds here or not? I can't really tell from
I don't
what
think-
you guys were saying.
No, I don't think so. I think
Yeah, I
we're,
just think we need to define kind of the backbone system that serves the larger community as opposed to, you know, facilities that typically serve small areas that, you know, developers are going to be building in many cases. I mean, you just want to kind of minimize how much of that you have to deal with.
So basically, if we have Chris come up with a plan for the city of areas that we deem necessary for 12-inch, 10-inch, 8-inch, whatever, to break that down for you, then we could plug in basically what these other cities have done with their impact fees. as far as our water service and even our sewer service for that matter. So we've already established that we own the lines. We know what the cost of those lines are because we have bonds set in place to pay for those lines. So is that basically all you need to give you the backbone of this?
Yeah, I mean, and you can use your plan as a guide too, to what,
Sure.
you know, the city's gonna be building versus what developers are gonna be putting in to add to that.
Yeah.
So that's another approach, is to say, we're only gonna give credit for what's in our master plan.
Which we already have a water and sewer master plan developed, I believe, don't we, James? Water is complete, so we just need to complete the sewer master plan.
And we've made some progress on that, and we've identified all the capital projects for the sewer master plan already.
Sure.
Okay. So I think just on the data collection part, it sounds like Chris will kind of work as the intermediary to figure out kind of those portions of it with the city and then get that information to Mr. Mullen. And then I think just that on that first list that Chris had put up, there are going to be some specific information that we'll send James to get, kind of the how many users you have on what size meters and all that then we can get to Mr. Mullen.
So then do we need to research, or somebody on this board research what the other cities are doing as far as how they structure their impact fees, that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel?
No, I think Mr. Mullen's going to do that. I mean, he does impact fees for a lot of cities.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah,
else
we've done
needs-
a lot of water, wastewater impact fees all over the country, so
Okay.
these are issues that come up in every, people deal with them differently. We can certainly look at what, some of your neighbors do.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. The other things that I had on the agenda were, we'll just need to get, I think, Chris, you have kind of all this. Do you have the geographic boundaries for their service areas? And then we'll have WWA's service areas. And then I guess,
Yeah, we've got all that.
okay, so we got that covered.
And I sent that to Mr. Mullen the other day or Mullen in our water master plan.
Okay, you did. Okay, great.
So to ask a real simple, stupid question, if I can, if I was looking at purchasing WWA's water service area in Tawnytown, could that be part of the impact? Because their lines are way undersized. We desperately need to get those lines upgraded. WWA is not willing to do that. And it's affecting our ISO ratings within the city right now. It's something that we have no control and we can't change. But if we were to work out an agreement with WWA to purchase those lines that are within our city, could that be part of the impact?
Might have to update the plan after that's done, right?
Yeah, I guess, what, do you have specific areas that that you're looking at? Maybe not like all of their service area within the city, but
I'm looking at all their service
you
area.
are, okay.
Essentially, it's about the southern third of the city of Tawnytown, right, James?
Well, I'm also looking at their service area that they have done nothing with to the Illinois River Bridge that they've been promising for 15 years to do something about. And we have people screaming at us all the time because we have an 18-inch line that passes right in front of their yard that they can't hook up to. So my request from WWA is to have an appraisal done of the service area within the city limits and their service area leading out towards Siloam. So for future annexation and the whole gamut.
I mean, it seems like we would have to kind of know that was going to happen
Yeah.
before we could add it to the plan. But I mean,
That would be my assumption at this
It's
point.
taken me 8 months so far to get to here.
yeah.
So could the city improve that line just on its own? Just say, okay, we've been asking you guys to upgrade this line. We're just going to do it.
No, sir.
Just, it's in our interest.
No, sir, we
I
can't.
assume you could do that.
No, we can't. We can provide a hydrant. It's about the only thing that we're allowed to do. Springdale's currently doing that in Elm Springs. But WWA hasn't released their service area to them to be able to charge the customer for the water and all that. Which it would make absolutely no sense for City of Tawnytown to install a hydrant and not receive income from it.
So how does it work in that southern part of the city? Do you sell the water meters? You know, how, I mean, I assume not.
No, we don't.
Um,
WWA is responsible for that in those areas of our town. That they have the water service area in the southern portion, and it really wraps around the city of Tinytown and even goes to the north side of Tinytown. So they create kind of a U shape around our town. And those customers are WWA's customers, not ours.
yeah. Yeah, so I don't know how you would even have an opportunity to charge them a fee,
No,
charge their customers a fee when
no, he's saying,
they connect to that system. I mean, it's not your system. So,
right. He's saying that the city is looking at purchasing that system from Washington Water Authority in the future, but I think we would have to kind of
Oh, okay.
go down that path.
That path, once it's
Yeah,
done.
you update the plan
Yeah,
when that happened.
right.
yeah.
So basically purchase their lines and
Their water
meters
service
and
area.
everything else and connect it to your system
Well,
to rather.
yeah, but for right now, I mean, how we're calculating our sewer rates to customers is essentially based off the water meter is how that we're being paid. So, and a developer that goes into the southern region of Tawnytown and is hooking up to WWA, we're still going to be possibly providing sewer to that area. So I think that is still part of the equation on impact fees.
Well, yeah,
Making
you're
sense?
definitely providing sewer.
Do
But
what, sir?
your systems are separate, right? The water systems.
Yes.
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 I mean, maybe you have an interconnection or something for emergency purposes, but yeah, okay.
I just think we're not going to have the same data to work that into the impact fee study because it's not part of our system now.
Could we not reach out to WWA though? Could they not give us that data that would tell us what the household customer is using and translate it over into what the sewer usage would be?
Possibly. I mean, but will they give you that data?
You know more about them than I do. We can only ask.
Well, how do you do it now? I mean, you bill them for sewer, right?
Yeah. How do you do places where they have water and you have sewer?
Well, we have plans to extend sewer, but there's the areas that are served by Washington Water Authority currently don't have City of Tonytown sewer, right, James?
Households that are connected to sewer that are on Washington Water, they basically just put in a double meter.
Yeah.
Oh, you double me. Okay. So you don't even have like a agreement with them to do billing. Okay.
Which it makes it pretty hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand. So so you bill them now, right?
Yeah, he's saying they have double
Huh.
meters. In that case, they have a Tawnytown meter and a Washington Water Authority meter. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't think you can hear him, but yeah, he said it's just 15 to 20 customers right now. I don't have a problem
Oh, okay.
assessing that. I would say that was not part of the original scope. So if it was something that added additional,
Well, I mean,
time and money to the process, and we would probably need to discuss that.
well, and the issue is for us right now, I mean, we have developers that are looking inside of our town currently, like all cities are. And one of their concerns that I've heard from the developers is there's lots of areas to the south that they would like to develop, but not while there's small water lines because they can't be guaranteed by WWA to even get a tap.
Right. And I understand that. I guess from a data collection standpoint, like I said, I I don't know that any of us would object to doing that, but the, the estimate that we put together didn't include time and, hours for that. So I think we would have to talk about that if it's gonna add significant.
We always do.
We always do what? Talk about it?
Talk about your time and your hours.
Right. Well, I'm speaking for Mr. Mullen as well.
I
since
don't
he's-
disagree.
Okay.
If we want to get a quantity of footage of pipe, it'd be easy enough to get a length of, 1-inch lines and, figure out what the cost would be to replace all those with 8 and handful of 12-inch lines. Wouldn't be that big a deal if that's what we want to do.
Well, I think it needs to be addressed. I think that's even another reason why we're even looking at doing impact fees, is it not? To add expansion of our services, unless I'm missing something.
I mean,
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Thank you, sir.
Impact fees pay for improvements. Yeah.
But part of that cost would be the cost to actually purchase those lines from WWA, correct? And something we don't know.
Right.
that's an unknown. Will they, will they even give us like copies of their system? Because I know they've been a little withholding about stuff like that in the past. I mean, can we even get
Do we have those
a
maps
map
right now,
that has,
James?
I like that James is laughing.
Possibly.
Yeah, I know they've been, they're historically not the easiest people to get data from, but that might have changed. Okay. Well, we'll definitely put that down as something to look at, and we can talk about it. I guess the whole process kind of hinges on, when we get the data collection portion done so that we can move forward with impact fee studies. So I guess too, the other piece would be if it's going to get hard to get that information from WWA, we wouldn't want that to hold up the whole process, right? I assume that you wouldn't. Okay. Yep.
I think we probably need to write them fairly soon anyways, but
What type do we know? We have an idea of what type of information we need from WWA?
I think we could work
Yeah,
up a list.
we just need a map of their system.
The map of their system, right?
And honestly, so Justin, that's been a really hard thing for people to get in the past.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, they're a public body, but
I know.
that's where the
I couldn't
comparison-
even, I,
That's where the comparison stops right there.
yeah, I could never get that map when I worked at the county.
Yeah.
Never. No, they're not. They're,
Appointed by the judge, but
well, they're, the rule, they're a child of the, I don't know, Justin can say this. word.
RDA,
Yeah, they're a child of the Rural Development Authority, and that board is appointed by the judge, but then they also have their own board. So it's like a couple steps removed. So I don't legally, I don't know exactly how that works.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Well, I think you start with an ask and then go from there.
Yeah.
Now, James, would they have that filed with health department or any state agency? Because we could also go that route to see.
Yeah, they've got a water service boundary and they're supposed to do water master plan updates on a 5-year basis and submit those to the health department for the records.
Yeah.
And we can somehow get a hold of that.
So that might be another angle. Yeah.
Okay. Not a wrench in my conversation. Okay. So then I guess the only other thing I wanted to talk about was, I guess what we think we'll have a list ready to submit to the city, within a week of our needs from them, data needs from them. And then I think it's just going to be a matter of how quickly we can get all the data. And then once we get that data, Mr. Mullen, on your side, I guess what are you thinking? How long will you need to kind of work through some of this, I mean, as an estimate? I realize there's a few unknowns here.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Oh,
Yeah, I would think 6 weeks at a minimum, once we get all the data.
all the data. Okay.
And I don't know that this is a complete list of data that I've given you guys so far, because there's some unknowns here, and I may have, additional requests, but once we get it all, I'd probably need about 6 weeks.
Okay. And then what do you think on the capital plan and map, Chris, on making that?
Yeah, we've got the capital plan and map for the short term and long range, all the projects already.
So,
Yes,
so
sir.
it'd really just be a matter of formatting it and then finding out if we need to add anything in regard to those past investments to the actual capital plan, or if that's just integrated into the impact fee study.
Yeah, and they're still paying on some of those past projects. So I think we should probably include them.
Okay.
Even if they're sales tax. Loan has been funded by sales tax, so we can still improve that.
I would think so. Why would it matter specifically that it's a sales tax? Oh. I don't know. That's, I guess, a y'all question. I mean, it's still city money, right?
Yeah.
But would it be,
I mean, if you pay it off, if we can pay from water and sewer funds in the bond early, can't we? Right. That's what I recall.
oh, I see what you're saying, because it wasn't for a specific improvement. That's what you're saying. Okay, we'll let, we'll let you tell us, Justin. How's that sound?
Okay.
Okay. All right. And then as far as like ongoing conversations, do we want to meet? Do we want to set up any kind of just recurring meetings for updates, or plan to have just some sort of monthly written update, or what do you want to do on this, Chris?
Probably just maybe a monthly status update, maybe, and we could just meet as things develop and new developments arise and figure things out.
Okay, so. Yeah, well, definitely. Yeah. So I think we'll definitely meet, and there's in the scope, I had some key times, yeah, that we would meet. I think it's just, I just wanted to make sure that we just kind of set up, so that you can expect correspondence from us on a regular basis on kind of where we're at. I like that. Sound good? Okay. I don't think I have anything else unless you do. Mr. Mullen, do you have anything else you want to add today?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground. This has been good.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess Chris or I'll be in touch with you to make sure we get the data request list finalized here in the next few days, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I sent Mr. Mullen probably 1,000 pages of documents to review to get up to speed. So he hadn't had time to get up to speed on the water and wastewater yet. He's got everything he needs.
Yeah, not quite yet. I did download all those files, but I haven't gone through them. I'm going to skim them, put it that way.
All right.
But yeah, it's going to be good data.
The the city also recently did a water sewer rate study and I forgot to send that to you, but I'll send that to you as well.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Mullen. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
All right.
Talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
I would ask for as much capacity as you can get. in NACA. It's not gonna get any cheaper. The more you could buy now, it's gonna be in your best interest. Much as you can.